GSB. Gold, silver, bronze. Okay, I'm already liking where this is going. What's that about?
Break that down for us. What is that?
So basically, you take your highest performing content. That's your gold.
Makes sense.
Then your lowest performing, that's your bronze.
Okay.
And everything in between, that's your silver. And you compare them to spot patterns and understand what really resonates with your audience.
So it's like...
Welcome to Witter. Who Has Time to Read? The podcast that brings deep dives for busy minds. Listen to AI hosts Jane and Dane and get ready to unpack the world's most captivating books in just a fraction of the time. Whether commuting, working out, or just squeezing in a quick break, we deliver key insights, thought-provoking themes, and takeaways you can carry into your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Plus, use our links in the description to purchase this book. Your support helps us bring more engaging book discussions to you. Listen and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Who has time to read? You do, with Witter.
Welcome back to Witter, your shortcut to big ideas for busy minds.
Deep dives for busy minds.
Exactly.
We do the reading so you don't have to.
Well, we all wish we had time to read everything right. But who actually does?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's where we come in. We sift through all the pages, pull out those golden nuggets, and then we connect the dots for you in ways that you might not expect.
Sometimes those connections are pretty surprising, even to us.
Right. So today we are diving into the Guide to Going Viral, the art and science of succeeding on social media.
Ooh, catchy title.
It is, and it's by Brendan Kane.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this is not just another one of those how-to guides.
Oh, thank goodness.
Full of, like, fleeting trends, you know?
Yeah, those get old fast.
Kane really gets into the why behind what makes content spread like wildfire.
The why, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah. And more importantly, how to create that magic yourself.
Okay, now I'm listening. So who is this Brendan Kane guy?
Well, one thing that's really interesting about him is that he's got this, like, unique blend of experience. He was behind some of the earliest influencer campaigns on YouTube.
Wait, really? Like way back in the day?
Yeah, back in 2007.
Wow, that's practically ancient history in internet time.
I know, right? But he also brings this really deep understanding of data analysis and the psychology behind how people engage online.
So it's not just about those like quick hacks and tricks.
Exactly. It's about understanding what makes people tick. And one thing that he tackles head on are those, common myths about going viral.
Ooh, like what?
Okay, so remember that idea that you need to be posting constantly to stay relevant?
Oh, yeah, that's like the hustle culture pressure, right? Churn it out, churn it out.
Yeah. Well, Kane actually says that's totally counterproductive. The algorithms are way more sophisticated now.
They have to be right. There's so much content out there.
Exactly. They actually reward quality, engagement, and retention, not just how often you hit post.
So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Makes sense.
Think about creators like Mr. Beast or Mark Rober. They've built massive followings, but they release, like, infrequent but incredibly impactful videos.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, every one of their videos is an event.
Right. It creates anticipation, makes each piece of content feel more valuable both for the creator and for the audience.
I like that. So what other myths does he debunk?
Another big one is that only, sexy businesses or topics can go viral.
Yeah, you always hear about those overnight sensations, the latest dance craze or whatever.
But Kane argues that it's compelling storytelling that really trumps subject matter. You could be in the most, unsexy industry imaginable.
Okay, give me an example. Like what?
He actually gives this amazing example of a tax accountant.
A tax accountant? No way.
Yes, who created, wildly popular videos about, wait for it, taxes.
That's amazing. Taxes.
I know, right? So it's all about finding that unexpected angle, that generalist principle, as Kane calls it.
The generalist principle. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that all about?
It's basically about connecting your specific niche, whatever it is, to those broader interests that resonate with a wider audience.
So even if you're talking about something really specific, you can still find a way to connect with people who might not think they're interested in that.
Exactly. And that's where his hook point model comes in. It's a research-driven framework for grabbing attention quickly and keeping people hooked. One of the tools he introduces is GSB analysis, that stands for gold, silver, bronze.
GSB. Gold, silver, bronze. Okay, I'm already liking where this is going. What's that about?
Break that down for us. What is that?
So basically, you take your highest performing content. That's your gold.
Makes sense.
Then your lowest performing, that's your bronze.
Okay.
And everything in between, that's your silver. and you compare them to spot patterns and understand what really resonates with your audience.
So it's like turning data into actionable insights to refine your approach.
Exactly. And the best part is it's not just some abstract theory.
So we can actually use this ourselves.
Absolutely. It's a practical tool that literally anyone can implement. By analyzing your own content, you can start to understand what's working, what's not, and why. And honestly, that's just the beginning. Kane then dives into what he calls performance drivers. They're these key elements that can elevate your content from good to viral.
All right, let's get into these performance drivers.
Let's do it.
What are some of the most surprising ones?
Well, one that really stood out to me is cleverness. It's that potent combination of the unexpected and the intelligent, something that makes you go, why didn't I think of that?
Ooh, I love those moments where you're like, how did they even come up with that?
Exactly. And it ties back to that generalist principle we were talking about, right? It's about taking something familiar, maybe even mundane, from your own little niche and reframing it in a way that's both clever and relatable to a wider audience.
It's like finding that hidden spark of brilliance in the everyday.
Exactly. Ooh. And another performance driver that really grabbed my attention was perspective shift.
Ooh, yeah. That one feels really relevant, especially in today's world. It feels like we're constantly bombarded with information, and it's easy to get stuck in our own little echo chambers.
Right. So content that challenges those assumptions and makes you see things in a new light. That's powerful.
And it doesn't have to be some earth-shattering revelation either, right?
Yeah.
Even just those small aha moments can have a huge impact.
Totally agree. Think about those videos that explain a simple concept in a way that suddenly makes everything click.
Ooh, like what?
Like those 5 levels of difficulty videos where an expert breaks down a topic for different audiences. You learn so much, and it's fascinating to see how the explanation evolves depending on who they're talking to.
It's like those, explain it to me like I'm 5 memes, but brought to life. Speaking of understanding your audience, Kane has this fascinating concept called the communication algorithm.
The communication algorithm. Okay, tell me more.
He identifies different communication styles and how to actually tailor your message for each one.
That makes a lot of sense. People receive information so differently.
He breaks it down into categories like feeling, fact, and fun. He's basically saying that by understanding these styles, you can create content that truly connects.
So it's not about just broadcasting your message into the void.
Exactly. You have to speak the language of your audience.
I'm really curious about these different styles. Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, sure. But we're going to have to take a quick break first. We'll be back in a flash to dive into those juicy details.
Sounds good. Can't wait. So we were talking about communication styles.
Yeah, Kane breaks it down into feeling, fact, and fun.
Which is interesting because he actually advises against relying too heavily on values-based or autocratic styles.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Why do you think he cautions against those styles?
Well, he says values-based communication can be super polarizing because it tends to be very subjective and focused on personal beliefs.
Yeah, that makes sense in the online world. Not everyone's going to agree with your values. Right. And autocratic communication is more about commands and directives, which can come across as bossy or condescending online.
So it's about building trust and connection with your audience, not dictating or preaching.
Exactly. You want to create a dialogue, not a monologue.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Debunking myths, the hook point model, performance drivers, even communication styles. My brain is definitely starting to make those connections.
It's all coming together, right?
But I have to ask, where does good old-fashioned creativity fit into all of this? Does Kane have any insights on that?
Oh, absolutely. That's where things get really exciting. Kane dedicates a whole section to what he calls strategic ideation.
Strategic ideation.
Yeah, basically he encourages creators to embrace a bit of chaos in the brainstorming process.
Chaos, as in just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Not exactly, although sometimes that can work too. But it's more about pushing yourself beyond those initial obvious ideas, exploring a wider range of possibilities. He actually recommends aiming for 100 ideas for every one you actually use.
Wow, 100 to 1. That's a lot of brainstorming.
It might sound excessive, but the goal is to really stretch those creative muscles, break free from those self-imposed limitations.
So it's not just about waiting for inspiration to strike.
Right, you have to actively cultivate it. And once you have that big pool of ideas, he provides a system for ranking and evaluating them based on their potential impact.
So it's about being strategic with your creativity, not just relying on random inspiration.
Yeah.
I like that. He also talks about the importance of having strong references right, like learning from content that's already performing well.
Oh, absolutely. He calls this the GSB research process. Remember gold, silver, bronze?
Yep.
It's about analyzing those top-performing examples to understand what's working and why.
So it's not about copying.
No, definitely not. It's about extracting those underlying principles and adapting them to your own unique voice and perspective.
I like that. Adapt, not copy. Now, what about the visuals? Does he talk about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He has some really fascinating insights about visual storytelling.
Okay, like what?
He dives into how different design elements can actually impact viewers on a subconscious level. Things like lighting, composition, color, even sound can influence their emotional response.
It's funny how we often don't even realize how those subtle things are affecting us.
Right. It's like subliminal messaging almost. But as content creators, we need to be aware of those nuances.
So it's about using those elements intentionally.
Exactly. To enhance the story you're telling, not just treating them as random decorations.
Think about those like really satisfying videos where someone's making something with their hands, like pottery or woodworking. Even if you're not into those crafts, there's something so mesmerizing about watching those processes unfold.
It's that combination of visual appeal and a sense of mastery. You're witnessing someone create something beautiful and intricate. It taps into that innate human appreciation for craftsmanship.
It makes you think about how you can bring that same level of intentionality to your own content, even if it's not about pottery or woodworking. You know, how can you craft each element to really draw people in and keep them engaged?
That's the key. And Kane provides a ton of practical tips and examples. He even introduces this concept called the Jenga theory of storytelling.
The Jenga theory. Okay, now that sounds interesting.
I know, right? I can already picture that tower of blocks teetering on the edge of collapse.
Exactly. So how does that apply to storytelling?
Well, he uses that Jenga metaphor to explain how you can build suspense and anticipation in your videos. It's about progressively introducing new elements and challenges, like pulling out those Jenga blocks one by one.
Ooh, I like that.
Each move adds another layer of tension, keeps the audience on the edge of their seats, wondering what's going to happen next.
And of course, he has a killer example from Mark Rober, right?
Yeah.
That guy is the master of suspense.
You know it. He breaks down one of Robert's videos about testing if sharks can smell a drop of blood.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
Robert doesn't just jump into the experiment. He builds up to it by asking smaller questions, creating these mini challenges along the way. It's brilliant.
Like by the time you get to the climax, you're completely hooked.
Exactly. So we've got suspense, visual storytelling, chaos, and strategic ideation. What other gems did you find in this viral treasure chest?
There's got to be more, right?
Oh, there's so much more. But one that really resonated with me was Kane's emphasis on visualizing complex topics in simple and unexpected ways.
Making those complex topics more accessible.
Yes, finding those creative approaches that make even the most boring or difficult subjects engaging and relatable.
Like those videos that use everyday objects to explain complicated concepts.
Exactly. It's all about making those unexpected connections. Kane gives the example of a Vox video that explains how tax brackets work using paper cutouts.
I've seen that one. They made taxes almost, dare I say, fun.
Almost. But that's the power of good visual storytelling. It can take something dry and complicated and just make it click.
Make it click. Speaking of clicking, Kane also talks about the power of analogies.
Oh, analogies are fantastic. They're like bridges, right? Connecting the familiar to the unfamiliar.
Helping people grasp those new concepts by relating them to something they already understand.
And he uses that Wired video series, Neuroscientist Explains One Concept in 5 Levels of Difficulty, as a perfect example. It's fascinating to see how the neuroscientist adapts his explanation based on whether he's talking to a 5-year-old, a teenager, or a fellow scientist.
That's so cool.
It is. It's like taking those explain it to me like I'm 5 memes to a whole new level.
Okay, so we've got all these great strategies and techniques for creating viral content, but does Kane give us any specific examples of viral formats that we can learn from? I'm always looking for new inspiration.
He does. He dedicates a big chunk of the book to like dissecting different viral formats and identifying the key performance drivers behind their success.
So which ones like really stood out to you?
Well, one that caught my eye was what he calls the visual metaphor format.
Okay, visual metaphor, what's that?
This is where creators use physical objects or actions to represent kind of like abstract concepts, making them more tangible and engaging.
I can see that working. It's like those videos where someone uses like a crumpled piece of paper to represent trauma or an overflowing bucket to represent stress. Giving a visual to something that's otherwise hard to grasp.
Exactly. Kane highlights Dr. Julie Smith as a master of this format.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
She uses props like a burning match or a drill to illustrate complex psychological concepts in a way that's both memorable and impactful.
And she's so good at blending those facts, feelings, and fun elements we talked about earlier.
It shows how you can blend different communication styles within a single format to create something that truly resonates with a wide audience.
So what other formats are out there?
Another one that Kane breaks down is the 2 characters, 1 light bulb format.
2 characters, 1 light bulb. Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk me through this one.
It's this clever format where the creator plays 2 characters, usually like an expert and a novice having a conversation about a topic. The novice represents the audience, full of those common misconceptions and questions, and the expert is there to debunk those myths and offer clear, actionable advice.
That's a great way to address those pain points and position yourself as a trusted source.
Exactly. And it's a really dynamic format because you can create this back and forth dialogue,
Yeah.
Kane points out that successful creators in this format often use humor and contrasting elements to highlight the difference between the novice and the expert.
Creating those aha moments where the light bulb goes off for the audience.
Precisely. It's about making it relatable and entertaining while still delivering valuable information.
So we've got visual metaphors, 2 characters, and a light bulb. What else is there?
He also talks about the untold stories format. This is all about finding those hidden gems or unexpected angles within familiar narratives.
I like that taking something seemingly ordinary on the surface and revealing its extraordinary depth.
Exactly. Kane highlights a creator named Patrick Wall, who's a master of this format, uncovering fascinating deep cuts within the world of music.
Music. Okay, interesting.
He'll take a popular song or artist and reveal these behind-the-scenes stories that make you appreciate them in a whole new way.
It's like getting those bonus features on a DVD, but even better.
Right. It shows that you don't always have to reinvent the wheel to create something viral. Sometimes it's about taking a familiar topic and approaching it from a fresh perspective.
Makes sense. And then there's the 30-day challenge format, which has become incredibly popular.
Oh, yeah. This one's everywhere. Creators documenting their journey of trying something new or challenging themselves for a month. Kane highlights Matt D'Avella, who's had huge success with this format.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of his videos.
His videos are so engaging because he doesn't just focus on the challenge itself, he also shares his struggles, insights, and even his failures.
It's that vulnerability and authenticity that draws people in, makes it feel real.
Absolutely. It makes the content so much more relatable and inspiring.
Okay, so we've got all these viral formats to play with. But how do we know if our content is actually any good? Does Kane offer any advice for evaluating our work and making sure it's got that viral potential?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
He provides a checklist of those performance drivers we discussed earlier to assess your videos and identify areas for improvement.
Okay, hit me with some of those key questions.
Some of the big ones are, does your video have a clear hook point that grabs attention within the first few seconds? Does it incorporate tension to keep viewers engaged? Does it offer a fresh angle on a familiar topic? Is it clever? Does it create a connection with the viewer? Does it leave them wanting more?
That's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's incredibly helpful to have this specific criteria to work with.
Yeah, I agree. So after this deep dive into the guide to going viral, I'm feeling inspired, but I have to ask, where do we even begin?
Well, Kane reminds us that going viral isn't just about chasing views or fame. It's about creating something meaningful content that educates, inspires, or sparks conversation.
Using your platform to make a positive impact.
Exactly. He encourages us to keep pushing those boundaries, never settle, and always strive to create something truly extraordinary.
Well, I'm feeling ready to take on the world of viral content creation. What about you?
Absolutely. This book has been a fantastic reminder that with the right approach, anyone can unlock the power of going viral.
That's it for this episode of Witter. Big thanks to Brendan Kane for the insights.
And to you listeners for joining us.
Now go out there and make some magic happen.
Thanks for listening to Witter, Who Has Time to Read, produced by One Media. Please support the author by purchasing the book or audiobook using the link in the description. It's a great way to help keep the art of writing alive. And stay in the loop. Subscribe to our newsletter for updates on weekly deep dives. And don't forget to share your thoughts or suggest our next deep dive at witterpodcast@gmail.com.